Hey, thanks for coming to my website and checking out some of these tips. Hopefully you were at the session I gave in Orlando, the annual AP conference, where we did kind of like a calculus break-in, escape room type of game. So if you left there thinking, how can I do this? How can I incorporate this into my classroom? What do I need to get started? We did talk about it, but if you weren't there, if you need more, this video is for you. So I have a couple props here that I've used in the past. Just walk you through how I do some of these things, what I think about, and maybe then you can get some more ideas on how you can bring this back into your classroom. So one of the things we played around with in Orlando were these safes. We had split the group into two teams, and one team was pink, one team was blue. They were divided into little subgroups. And these safes have numerical codes, and I embedded those numerical values as answers to problems. Now the great thing about these safes though is if for some reason you're planning the game, you messed up, they have a lock and a key associated with them. These particular safes actually lock out after 3 failed tries. So if your students mess up the code 3 times, they're not going to be able to get in. So you could actually come in here and you could reset it and they can kind of keep playing. So the safes are kind of a huge thing. It's pretty cool because let's open this up again. What you can do is you can put gift cards in there. Whoops. You know, that's like for me, I've used this as a final challenge. So they're trying to crack into that safe so that they can earn a gift card or some type of other prize. Now, other times I've used it to hold the next set of clues or maybe props that they need to help them in the next challenge. So a really neat thing there. You know, don't underestimate the use of your phone. So your phone can be programmed to have a PIN. You could have a 4-digit PIN, a 6-digit PIN. I know it's a little crazy, but maybe this sits on your desk as the last final challenge, and they have to crack the code to your phone. Now, with you there, you know, they won't lock you out, so you don't have to call Apple or Samsung and you know, have them crack your phone open. So dangerous, a little risky, but not a bad idea. Along the way, you're probably looking at these muffins here, and you're saying, why do we have baked goods? Believe it or not, I have used some type of food in every kind of calculus break-in or escape room game that I've played. Sometimes I've made cookies and they've had to break open the cookie to find a clue inside, and they had no idea going into it that that was the case. You could, you know, maybe you can stick a clue inside a muffin or something like that. If your hobby is baking or art or woodworking, incorporate that into your game. I mean, that makes it easier for you. If that's your thing, then why not incorporate that? You'll see here I have a couple mirrors. Every once in a while, what I'll do is I will maybe put the directions backwards so that they need a mirror to read it. I have balloons here. I've actually, in the past, what I've done is I've embedded an activity on a USB drive, blown up the balloon, stuck this in the balloon so they actually had to pop it. Sometimes I'll put the number of the challenge on the balloon so they know if they're supposed to do that next or they have to wait, whatever it might be. I have a couple locks here. This one's an alpha lock, so the answers to this lock would be all letters. So if you design some type of an activity, you could make a multiple choice where it's like A, B, C, D could be the code, and they have to align that to unlock this particular lock. I have traditional numeric locks where you just have to kind of, almost like a briefcase, you have to spin the right numbers. And then your typical lock with, you know, with a key. I've used this one before to kind of padlock the last clue or the prizes in a big cabinet. So not a bad idea there. Don't underestimate books. You know, just books laying in your classroom, hiding it on a specific page. You know, if I turn here to page 64, maybe 64 is the answer to a particular activity, and this book, it's called A Long Walk to Water. So maybe that phrase is, the title of the book is in the activity as well. And maybe I have this in a convenient location somewhere in my classroom or somewhere in the school that they have to find, right? And then this is kind of, sometimes, you know, I want to talk about the idea of using props that don't even mean anything. If you've ever done an escape room, you go into that sometimes thinking everything means something. And the reality is a lot of the things don't have anything to do with what you're trying to do. So this is just a simple little webcam device that you would put on a laptop or a computer. I've actually used this sometimes. I've actually put this on devices to make them think that I'm watching them or it's being taped or they have to do something with this. And in reality, it means nothing. So as much as designing the game is really cool, you know, you might want to think about on a higher level, depending on how quick and how witty your students are, do I have to embed some things in there that actually are tricky and throw them off the trail? These safes actually came with this, it's not in here, but like a red felt on the bottom. One time we played this game and I had two groups of students convinced that that red felt was used for something, and it was nothing. I had no idea that they would even think like that. So a little overwhelming when you look at this, but again, this is just things that I've accumulated along the way and thought, oh, I could use that. Now, as far as the game design is concerned, you want to think backwards in terms of the flow. How much space do I have? How much time is this going to take? Kind of things that evolve over time, but these are the things you need to think about. Do I want to use just my classroom? Do I want to use a wing of my school? Do I want to use the entire school? Do I want to go outside? Do I not? You know, these are all decisions that you're going to have to make based on your students, your class, what would be allowed in your building, things of that nature. Once you're designing the flow, yes, you could get overwhelmed. Yes, you could get in over your head, but it's all you're doing. So if you need to peel back, peel back. I've done tons of things that I thought would work, and then as I'm testing it, I'm thinking this is never going to work. We got to throw this out. So don't be afraid to adjust the design of the game as well. Now, finally, you might feel a little bit intimidated by the idea of making up problems from scratch. You could certainly do that, but you don't have to. If you have a favorite problem from a book or in a textbook or an activity that you've done, or maybe a colleague has written a really neat warm-up that you want to use, all good ideas, all great ideas. Don't feel like you have to basically make 100 questions homemade from scratch, test them all out, make them work, and sometimes it doesn't fit. Quick note about, especially math, you know, sometimes the answer is just it's not perfect. It's not 4, it's not 17. Sometimes you'll do an activity and it's really awesome. You love the question and the answer winds up being 2.75362. Well, you might need to round it. You might have to tell them in the instructions, round it to the nearest whole number, or the nearest hundredth, or whatever it might be, and then remove the decimal so that you can kind of get yourself to the point where it's not so hard, you're not pigeonholed into doing something specific. So that being said, these are just some extra tips and tricks on how to design this thing. Really, the world is yours. You know, it's kind of like a limitless possibility. There's other things I haven't even tried yet that I'm just not ready for, but I'm hoping to do eventually. Invisible ink is one of them. So things of that nature that if I can see the opportunity, I'm going to try and take it. So hopefully these tips have been helpful. And at the very least, believe in yourself, believe in your students, believe that it'll be okay. The last tip I'll give you is this: no matter what you do, no matter how intricate it is, test, 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 dry run, dry run, dry run, dry run, over and over, make sure it works.